Welcome to the Behavioral Health Division's training on guardianship and the waiver. Thank you for taking the time to view this presentation. This training was prepared to help guardians understand the roles and responsibilities of guardianship when acting as the guardian of someone receiving waiver services. The information covered in this training is not intended as legal advice, but only as guidance on best practices. This training is based off the information found in the Guardianship Guidebook that was developed by the division to assist guardians.
Hi, I'm Jamie Kennedy. I'm with the Behavioral Health Division. I'm the Communications Policy Research and Training Unit Manager.
Hi, I'm Jessica Fancher with the Behavioral Health Division, and I'm the Training Coordinator.
If you would like a copy of the Guardianship Guidebook, please visit our website, which will be posted on the slide at the end of the presentation, or contact Jessica Fancher to have a spiral-bound copy mailed to you. We know that being a guardian is a big job, but it is also a very worthwhile opportunity to make a difference in the life of someone receiving waiver services. Helping to protect a person from possible abuse or neglect, making sure they receive the needed care, and ensuring that they live in the least restrictive environment with dignity and as much independence as possible are some of the rewards of being a guardian. This training will cover general roles and responsibilities of being a guardian and the responsibilities that a guardian has when being a guardian for someone receiving waiver services. Again, the content within this training and guidebook is not intended as legal advice. If you want specific information about the laws regarding guardianship in Wyoming, please visit the website listed on this slide, which contains Title III of the Wyoming Statute. Today's training presentation will cover key definitions of guardianship, types of guardianship, legal information from the statute, key roles of a guardian, waiver responsibilities of a guardian, and best practices. First, we're going to start off with Emily Smith with the Wyoming Guardian.
My name is Emily Smith. I'm the Executive Director of Wyoming Guardianship Corporation. Wyoming Guardianship Corporation is a nonprofit agency in Wyoming. We've been providing guardianship and conservator services in Wyoming since 1997. We provide services, guardianship and conservator services to about 200 people under guardianship. I have a NCG, which is a national certification for guardians. I've been a social worker since 2000, and I have a degree in social work from Boise State University. So let's talk about some key definitions in guardianship. What is a guardian? A guardian is a person who is appointed by the court and has the legal authority and the corresponding duty to care for the personal and property interests of another person, who is called a ward. So what is a ward? A ward is an individual for whom a guardian has been appointed by the court or designated under Wyoming Statute 33501. But we don't like to use the word ward. That's not a very person-centered language. So what the phrase that we like to use is a person under guardianship. So let's talk about civil rights. What are civil rights? Civil rights are those rights that are guaranteed and protected by the U.S. Constitution, such as freedom of speech, freedom of press, the right to equality. Next, what does best interest mean? Best interest is a course of action that maximizes what is best for the ward or the person under guardianship, and that includes consideration of the least intrusive, most normalizing, and least restrictive course of action possible, given the needs of the person under the guardianship. And the next thing that is sort of like that is substituted judgment. Substituted judgment is the principle of decision making that requires implementation of the course of action, which corresponds with the person under guardianship's known wishes expressed prior to the appointment of the guardian, provided that the individual was once capable of developing views relevant to the matter at issue, and reliable evidence of those views still remains. Types of guardianship. So let's talk about the different types of guardianship there are. First of all, plenary guardianship is a type of guardianship. It means that there is a guardianship in which the appointment by the court carries the full range of duties carried by the court. Next, limited guardianship is a type of guardianship in which the appointment by the court is limited in scope of duties or in duration of appointment. A temporary guardian is another type of guardianship that provides for temporary guardianship of educational, medical care, and dental care purposes pursuant to Wyoming Statute 32301 through 32303. Except for a showing of good cause, an order appointing a temporary guardian of an adult person under guardianship shall be limited to not more than 90 days. Another type of guardianship is an emergency guardianship. An emergency guardian can be appointed without notice to the proposed ward, the person under guardianship, or the guardian ad litem. Only though if the court finds by a preponderance of the evidence from affidavit or testimony that the proposed ward, person under guardianship, will be substantially harmed before a hearing on the appointment can be held. Emergency guardians appointed without any notice or hearing have the authority to make medical decisions and medically related decisions only. They can't make decisions about whether or not to have advanced directives, like take people off of life support. He can't put people in facilities, in institutions, in mental health facilities. So just medical and medically related decisions only. A conservator is another type of guardianship in Wyoming. A conservator is a person appointed by the court to have the custody and control of the property and assets of a ward. For example, in order for a guardian to have control of the person under guardianship's paycheck or financial affairs, they must also be the person under guardianship's conservator.
What's in the statute? What is the conflict of interest as it relates to guardianship? The court may not appoint a person to be a guardian of an incompetent person or a minor if the person proposed to act as the guardian, 1, provides or is likely to provide during the guardianship period substantial services to the ward in a professional or business capacity unrelated to the person's authority as a guardian. 2, is or is likely to become during the guardianship period a creditor of the ward other than in the capacity as guardian. 3, has or is likely to have during the guardianship period interests that may conflict with those of the ward. Or 4, is employed by a person who would be disqualified under one of the 3 items I just referenced. A person may be appointed as guardian if the court determines that the potential conflict of interest is insubstantial and that the appointment would clearly be in the best interest of the person. The guardian should have no financial or personal interest directly or indirectly that will prevent the guardian from acting with exclusive loyalty to the person in guardianship. Wyoming law says that the proposed ward's chosen guardian, the proposed ward's spouse, a parent, relative, or a family friend are the preferred choices as guardians. If you want to read more, the specific statute is listed on this slide, and I would encourage you to examine it for yourself.
Let's talk about the key roles of the guardian. Guardians are responsible for making decisions about the person under guardianship's regular medical, mental health, and dental care. This includes giving or withholding consent to services and ensuring that the individual is getting the best care appropriate to their condition in the least restrictive but most appropriate setting. Guardians are generally given the authority to make decisions about the person under guardianship's residence, their care, their therapy, their skills training, supervision, education, and employment. As with all other components of guardianship, this power should be exercised in a manner that assists the person to live the life that he or she chooses to lead. When making decisions on behalf of the person under the guardianship, the guardian's role is to support the wishes, the values, the beliefs, and the preferences of the person under guardianship, and to decide as much as possible as the ward would decide if they were able to. The ward should be consulted and included in all of the decisions. So you should be talking with the person under guardianship about all of these things so that you can understand what they want. The personal preference of the person under guardianship should be followed unless their preferences would result in harm to them, or unless the person under guardianship does not understand the consequences of those decisions. The decisions that the guardian makes on behalf of the person under guardianship should always be made in the person under guardianship's best interest, in that it should be the most normalizing, the least intrusive, and the least restrictive course of action. We should also remember that to the extent of the guardian's powers, they'll be granted by the court and detailed in the order. So you need to look at that order that's given by the court. And not all orders allow the guardian full responsibility over medical or general supervision of a ward. So we should always be referring to the court order. Some of those court orders just give authority over residential decisions. Some of those court orders just give authority over medical decisions. So when in doubt about what decisions the guardian can make for a person under guardianship, always refer back to the order from the court, because that will give the guardian direction.
Guardianship papers. Why does a guardian need up-to-date guardianship papers? A guardian observed by the state shall have court-ordered guardianship papers that are current and up-to-date. The guardian may not make decisions on behalf of the person under guardianship that are not authorized by the court or statute. Does a guardian need to submit reports? A guardian of a ward or person under guardianship must provide information in the form of a report to the court at least twice a year or as required by the court. The guardian must also submit the most current guardianship order to the participant's waiver case manager during the application process, and at any time there is a change to the guardianship order. If you don't do this, and something has changed, then everybody won't be aware of what the change is, and there will be confusion. So it's very important that everybody have the most up-to-date paperwork that there is. Does a guardian sign paperwork on behalf of the ward or the person under guardianship? A guardian must provide written verification on certain documents. A guardian's signature implies consent and is considered a legal document.
As a guardian, is there an obligation to report if I suspect my ward is being abused, neglected, or exploited? Yes, the guardian must immediately report suspected abuse, neglect, or exploitation to the Department of Family Services. As a guardian, you are responsible for ensuring to the best of your ability that the safety of your ward in all settings. Refer to this information on this slide to report any suspected abuse.
So there are certain rights that a ward has regardless of guardianship status: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of press, right to assemble, and right to due process. The rights that are limited by guardianship depend on the court order. The court order details the specific areas that guardianship pertains to. Guardianship can limit a person's right to travel or decide where to live, arrange for medical care and or other services, manage personal money or property, marry or divorce, have or get a driver's license, make or change a will, testify in court, make contracts, give or refuse permission for other people to look or get copies of records, file a lawsuit, vote if limited by the court order. A guardian should play a key role on the support team and participate in finding solutions and compromises when differences occur. He or she should be supportive of the participant's role on the team and help the team understand the desires and choices of the participant. Provide written verification, signing the plan of care documents after a review, signing any modifications to the plan of care as needed, signing releases, eligibility forms, waiver or provider documentation, and any other Medicaid documents to ensure that the participant may receive Medicaid services.
There are certain duties that a guardian is responsible for in order to ensure the participant's preferences and choices are honored, and to safeguard the participant's opportunity to receive the best possible supports. These duties include, but are not limited to, assisting in developing the individualized plan of care by using person-centered methods, choosing providers and doctors, etc., attending the plan of care development and revision meetings, coordinating meeting times with the case manager and provider, incident follow-up, determining treatment options, participating in assessments as needed for continued waiver eligibility determination. If self-directing waiver services, follow the requirements and responsibilities for the self-directed option. Always be available with the participant at home for the monthly and/or quarterly home visits required by the case manager if you reside with the participant, and cancel when necessary in an appropriate amount of time so the home visit can still be completed during that month. Inform the case manager and/or provider of any concerns or questions, and allow the case manager an opportunity to address your concerns or questions. Inform the case manager of any requested changes in services, and always follow the division's transition procedures when changing service providers or moving to another location in the state. This includes scheduling the transition meeting 2 weeks in advance and allowing 1 week for the modification to be approved before services are changed or the move takes place. Review services provided, the participant's progress, the schedules, the participant's activities, incidents, and any other information relating to the participant's health, well-being, and involvement with others and in the community. Approve appropriate positive behavior support plans. Approve participant restrictions being implemented and the plan to restore the rights that have been restricted. Staying involved ensures that the participant's best interests are always considered. It is important for the guardian to be aware of waiver changes and anything that will affect the participant while receiving waiver services. Some of the responsibilities of the guardian include staying informed of waiver changes through the website or educational opportunities that are provided by the division, learning about rights and restrictions, and actively participating in any discussion about possible rights restrictions is very important. Knowing the rules, laws, and expectations of the state and local community where the participant resides. Asking questions about direct responsibilities if information or directions are not understood. Being available in case of an emergency. If, as a guardian, you are going to be away, you should always arrange to be contacted if needed. Keep all documents and paperwork regarding the guardianship in a convenient place, such as a file drawer where it can be located quickly. A checklist of basic documents is located at the end of the guardianship book that we referenced earlier in the presentation. Something to remember, any program or facility serving the participant is expected to inform the guardian promptly of any changes in the participant's condition and obtain the guardian's permission before starting or changing a treatment.
Let's talk a little bit about communication. Communication is really essential to ensuring that the participant has the best possible life and all of their needs and desires are met appropriately. It's really important that the guardian helps the team understand those things that are important to the person under guardianship. It's very important for the guardian to communicate to the case manager any requested changes in service. It's also very important to understand that guardians need to understand any rights restrictions. The statute and the National Guardianship Association make it very clear that restraints and restrictions should not be used unless they're absolutely necessary. The person under guardianship has a right to be free from those unless they're absolutely necessary. So making sure that guardians understand what those restrictions are and that the guardian understands the positive behavior support plan by reading that plan and making sure that the guardian understands what's in the plan, that it's actually positive, and that actually meets the needs of the person under the guardianship, and then not authorizing that until you actually agree with it as the guardian is very, very important. And understanding that you don't have to do that. You don't have to authorize it unless you agree with it. It's your job as the guardian to make sure that you actually do agree with it. And if you don't have to authorize that. And if you don't understand something, it's also your job to ask questions about it, to talk with the support team about the best interests of the participant, the person under the guardianship, and to play an active role on the support team by attending and participating in the meetings. It's hard to understand everything that's going on if you don't participate and attend the meetings. It's also hard to ask questions about things you don't understand if you're not participating. Let's talk about participant preferences and choice. As a guardian, you should always ask the person under guardianship, the participant, what they want. Some questions that will help a guardian learn what the participant or the person under guardianship wants might be asking them where they want to live, asking the person what types of services they would like to have that fit with their goals, needs, and interests. So it might be good to ask the person what their goals and needs and interests are. Does the person want to go to a day program? What would that look like to them? Does the person want to work? Those are just some examples of conversations that should take place between the guardian and the person under guardianship or the participant. A guardian should keep the participant involved in making decisions that are simple and always provide them with choices. A guardian should also use substituted judgment or the best interest of the participant, those words that we talked about in the definition section. Before making a decision, determine what the participant would decide if he or she were provided the choice, or ask them. The guardian will then be better equipped to make a decision in line with how the participant would choose to live. Encourage participation in all decision-making to the maximum extent of the person under guardianship's abilities. Let's talk about some best practices for guardianship. How do you, as the guardian, ensure that the person under guardianship or participant's needs and wishes are considered, and that they are safe and are receiving good nutrition and have appropriate clothing? Some of the things that you can do as a guardian are assess the needs and wishes of the participant regarding the type and location of their residence. Make every attempt to see that the person has a chance to visit all of the homes available. Visit the proposed homes and then consider how those homes will meet the participant's needs. Ensure that the participant is in a safe living environment with people who treat them with dignity and respect. Assure that the person under guardianship or participant has appropriate clothing, good nutrition, privacy, needed equipment and accommodations such as glasses, hearing aids, lifts, adaptive technology. You would do that by visiting with the participant, asking questions, asking other people on the team questions. Make sure that the participant has access to a phone, that they can send and receive mail, that they can see their family and friends if they want to, asking them how they feel, if they like the way that things are going, if they like where they live, if they like their life. You should be participating in planning meetings. Those are some things that you can do that would ensure that you're providing the best guardianship services that you can, that you're providing the best guardianship that you can of the person that you are providing guardianship services for.
Let's talk about some more best practices. What other practices can be implemented to ensure the participant or person under guardianship has the best possible life while receiving waiver services? Safeguard the participant's civil rights as much as possible. Only restrict a person under guardianship or participant's personal freedom to the extent necessary. Make all decisions about the person under guardianship or participant for the benefit of the participant. Make sure you tell the court if you have a conflict of interest. Ensure that the participant has adequate care, comfort, and provide maintenance of the person under guardianship's housing, food, clothing, and other necessities. Sometimes we like to say that the guardian is the person who watches all the puzzle pieces fall together. So it's important that you're just watching all of those little pieces and parts moving and make sure that they're fitting together in the right place. Arrange for adequate services, medical care, training, education, and/or rehabilitation. Provide informed consent for medical care, counseling, and treatment. Maintain thorough records regarding each person under guardianship or participant. Make decisions on behalf of the person under guardianship or participant using substituted judgment or best interest. Let's talk about some more best practices. What other practices can be implemented to ensure the participant or person under guardianship has the best possible life while receiving waiver?
A guardian must be able to demonstrate that his or her decisions regarding a participant are in the participant's best interest, and they're made in good faith. In order to do this, it's important that the guardian honor the participant's preferences when making decisions. Some of the preferences that should be considered include providers and provider staff, scheduled and unscheduled activities, preferences in clothing and appearance, the relationships they want to have, skills training options, what they want to pursue for work, their benefits, income, cultural and religious activities. It's also important to help the participant to make choices about the services they receive through the waiver. This includes the types of services provided and the frequency and duration, the providers of the services selected, and how the services are delivered, the community in which the participant lives, their positive behavior supports, restrictive interventions, and the use of restraints that might be in their plan of care. As a guardian, you will best serve your ward if you know who they are, what their interests and needs are, what their preferences are, and how they want to receive support services. This will allow you the opportunity to be the best guardian you can while ensuring that your ward lives the best life possible.
Thank you on behalf of the Behavioral Health Division for participating in this training. We hope you learned valuable information that will assist you with your duties as a guardian. If you have not already received a copy of our new Guardianship Guidebook, please contact the division and ask for Jessica Fancher, or send an email to jessica.fancher2@wyo.gov, also listed on the screen. Thanks and have a great day.